Hi, Bill here. I'd like to talk about the famous Greek gift sacrifice. It's also known as the classical bishop sacrifice. So black has a typical kingside castle formation. The bishop's on the diagonal hitting the h7 pawn. So in one form of it, the bishop removes the pawn, draws the king out, and the queen follows up with a check. Depending on where the other pieces are, white might get a strong attack. So in this position, we've got a knight carrying the f7 square, which is quite important. So we start off with the sacrifice. King accepts it. Queen moves across check. King moves, and the rook moves behind the queen. When the file's open, white's threatening checkmate on two different squares, and fortunately, black cannot escape. He moves the rook, checkmating one. If he'd moved the pawn, same thing would have happened. This time is a classic Greek gift sacrifice with a pawn and a rook. The bishop takes the pawn, king takes, queen checks, king moves back, rook swings over, threatening mate. This time, black tries to wriggle out by giving his king the escape and moving the pawn forward. Rather than checking, white tightens the net by moving the g pawn and controlling the a7 square. Now the king can't escape. If he does, he gets mated. Now we have a more common situation where white cannot get to the h5 square immediately after the sacrifice because the knight's in the way. The basic pattern would be you sacrifice. And in this case, black declines it. Knight moves up, and the idea is, say black attacks the knight, queen can move out, threatening to discover check. If black takes the knight, he gets checkmated. Bishop moves, discover check, king moves, and mate. So, finally didn't work in that situation. Unfortunately, often if the defender declines the Greek gift, the other side gets a strong attack anyway. So in this position, white has played the Greek gift, black has declined it. White moves his queen towards the king and lines the queen up for a discovered check. Now black tries to wriggle out by attacking the queen. If bishop takes pawn check, the king might in fact escape. So white tightens the noose around the king and renews the threat of a discovered check. Say if black moves the rook, he wants to give the king the escape square. As long as this pawn is undefended, black gets mated in 3. Bishop takes pawn, discovered check. King must move. Queen checks, hitting the f7 square at the same time. King moves across and mate. Now this time we give a check, we take it, the knight follows up with a check. Now depending on where the other pieces are, black may or may not survive. King straight back will almost always be disaster because the queen will come out with check. So the critical moves tend to be king to g8, king to g6 or king to h6. So here white has checked, but black's got a very simple defence, he just swaps off the knight. So even if white takes back, generally in that situation, the Greek gift fails. So here, white goes, if he goes back to h8, that's a disaster, because the queen mates. If it goes through a different square, it goes to g8. Goes to g8, then the queen will come out threatening mate, and black is in some trouble. To avoid the mate, he must move the rook, but then the queen could take this pawn and check and open the king up. Now, if black can get a piece to the s6 square, that will tend to make the sacrifice work. So say if that moves back, the queen comes out to h5, the knight can go to f6, and that will tend to beat off the attack. Likewise, if a bishop can get to f5 defending h7, then king to g8 will often safely defend. Queen will come out, bishop defends against the mate. It will be quite hard to continue the attack. This time the queen will help defend. So the king goes back to g8, queen threatens mate. The rook gives an escape, but this time the queen is defending the f7 square, so there is no mate. This time, king goes back, queen moves, and not quite sure what was meant to happen in this position. Okay, so this time we go back. This time the king goes up. Queen goes over, so you put h4 check. And white's got attacking chance, depending on where the other pieces are. The other critical move is king to g6, so typical file would be queen to d3 check. Assuming there's a bishop defending the knight here. Goes up, and the other attacking manoeuvre is queen g4. Just coming checks with the knight. This time the king goes to g6 and the pawn goes to h4. This time, although black has a bishop defending the g5 square, because the rook is on the open file and there's an h-pawn guarding this square, it is safe to play the Greek gift. Bishop takes pawn check, king takes, knight gives a check. The bishop takes it. White opens up the h file, gives check, king goes back, queen moves up threatening mate, and unfortunately for black, if he moves the f pawn, white advances the pawn and white will checkmate with the queen. Okay, that's the end of the Greek gift. So thank you for watching.